My name is Maria Nelevu. I'm from Fiji. I'm here. I'm a management collective member of Diva for Equality, and I'm also a member of the Pacific Urgent Action Hub and the PPGCCSD.
Hi, Yahweh. I'm Yoshiko Yamaguchi from the Marshall Islands. I am here as a representative for Pacific Young Women Leadership Alliance, as well as a representative from the Pacific Women Shaping Pacific Development Advisory Board.
And so why did you both want to attend PFF?
Yes, I want to attend the PFF for so many reasons. As a feminist, as a Pacific Islander, as an LBT woman, as a woman that belongs to a marginalized community, I really want to come to this PFF platform because I know it's a regional platform where community leaders, feminists, academics, almost everybody will be together, where we can actually share perspectives, skills, and we'll be able to draw strength from one another and be able to translate it back to the communities that we are in. So that's why I'm really interested, and I'm really excited to be at this platform for so many reasons.
She just stole all my ideas. Just kidding. I find that in the line of work that we do as feminists across the Pacific, every so often we need to come together and just re-encourage one another, because at certain points when we're doing our work, we kind of burn out a little bit. So it was honestly, I wanted to attend and also to gain more experience and knowledge from all these, diverse women who worked in this area for so long, but also as well to kind of come back and remind myself and my sisters that it's the importance of solidarity and how best our work can be amplified if we work together. So yeah, it was more networking and kind of, to be honest, wanted to see all my sisters again, like in a safe space where we're able to share our ideas collectively without being judged.
Okay, so you've kind of just answered my next question, so thank you, about what you're looking forward to at the PFF. But coming back to what has been some of the challenges just being able to come to Fiji to participate? Maria, you just came back from Marrakesh.
Yes. The challenges for me, I think one of the main and the biggest reason why I'm really excited to be at this platform is because coming back from Marrakesh at the COP22 platform, I think it's also very important that I'm able to link my community and local work to international, and of course be able to bring it back, the learnings, and transfer it back to our community. So that was one reason why I was so excited to be here. And one of the challenges that I think I encountered is that I'm really not a professional yet in terms of climate justice work. This is my second year at the COP platform, but for a Pacific Islander, for us, I don't think climate change and climate justice should be a foreign language or should be an area that we are not new to, because we are at the forefront of climate change and we are already experiencing the irreversible impacts every day on a daily basis. And I think one of the challenges was that maybe because I was a newbie at the COP22 platform, being around a lot of other climate justice champions, and for somebody that is still learning my way around in that space, it's indeed a big challenge for me. But at the same time, because I'm so grateful to having come from an organization like DIVA, an organization that worked on grassroots level community, and an organization that really aligns our work on feminist praxis and principles and values, I'm able to, perhaps it really prepared me to be at that platform and be able to represent Pacific women. There's a saying that no other person can actually tell the story of Pacific women unless the Pacific women itself, they should allow us to actually be at that platform and storytell our own struggles and challenges. So I think that was one of the biggest challenges, but overall my COP21 experience last year, and also now that I'm working right on the ground with my Pacific Urgent Action Hub team, I think having hands-on on the ground and working with community grassroots level, to me it plays a big advantage in the work I do. So perhaps the only challenges is really trying to upscale and upskill myself to the level which I think would bring maximum and much more benefits. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 years time, I'm challenging myself to that expectation that I'll really be able to maximize the skills and the learnings back to the community.
Thanks, Maria. And for you, Yoshiko, what were your challenges?
Getting here logistically or getting to where I am today as a
It can be
person?
both. It can be both, for sure.
No, logistically wise, it's always hard to be. Catherine Relang, who's the Executive Director for Women United Together Marshall Islands, and I are actually the only representatives from the Marshall Islands here at the forum, and I haven't seen any sisters from the Republic of Palau or even Federated States of Micronesia, and I think that's also due to the distance that we have geographically and, the expenses of having to get someone from the North Pacific here. So the challenges have been just getting more presence from the North to come here. I'm very humble and grateful that I'm able to attend the forum, but I was really wishing that there was more of us here collectively.
I think I really overlooked one of the biggest important challenge to be in this space and also to be in this work is, being an LBT woman, to actually push, the agenda and the issues where we have to be included in policies and legislations, and also, to be included in decision making just like any other ordinary citizen. So I think that's always one of the biggest challenges that I encounter in almost every space.
Yeah.
And there are certain spaces where it's really tough, where you have a lot of men, you have a lot of prominent position holders, and finding the guts and the courage to speak truth to power. So those are the challenges I encounter on violence against women, on climate change, on almost every areas, is when you come from a marginalized and invisible community and having to try and claim your spot and claim your rights in those spaces.
Which is again why it's always important to come back as a group to regroup, because when you face a lot of difficulties and barriers, such as Maria's explained, you need time to come back and reevaluate your passion and why you're in this line of work in the first place.
And then had a lot of resonance with what was said in the morning session, time to reflect and think back about why we're doing what we're doing. So we're coming towards the end of day one. What stood out for you the most, or what struck a particular note with you with the work that you're doing so far? Yoshiko?
Well, I'm really, really happy to see a lot of more inclusivity. Especially with young women. I was able to attend a session with the girls program from FWRM, which was led and facilitated and by the young girls ages 12 to 16. So that to me was, kind of struck me like, well, when I was that age, I wasn't even thinking of anything other than boy bands, and so it struck me how far the movement has come, that it's kind of gone to younger generations so much more quickly than it did during my generation. Well, I feel so old saying that. My generation, their generation, we're old. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you see a lot of, you always wake up in the morning and you say, am I going to continue this if I'm going to receive the backlash that I do? But then at the end of the day, there are awesome changes that are happening throughout the region. So kudos to everyone who's doing this. I'm very hopeful for this.
Yes, for me, to be honest, I'm just so excited to be here, and I'm so overwhelmed. And like every session that I'm attending is just, another boost to, and also another reminder to the work that I'm doing that, we are on the right path. But something that really struck me today was inclusivity and intergenerational learning. This was something that was also mentioned at the COP22 platform, where we also shouldn't just be talking about women. We should also start taking into account young girls, and also start training the younger generations to also, prepare them for the journey that we have ahead of us. In terms of inclusivity, I think that's a conversation that I hope that will be happening in almost every spaces, because that's something that we are also fighting in terms of the constituency that I represent, the LGBTQI. To me, it's always important and it's always critical to have the voice of everyone. And I think that's something that's, I'm happy with the feminist work and the feminist and social movement work, because, we do the work and we ensure that everyone is included and we do not leave anyone behind. And I think that is something that we should always continuously support and push forward and push through.
So is that one of the issues that you're going to be discussing with other participants at PFF, intergenerational and inclusivity?
Yes, absolutely, with inclusivity, and I think it both intersect as well. When you include people, it's not just we speak about women and we are just only implicit. We are not, talking about intersectionalities. We're not talking about other women with extra and diverse identities. We need to really break it down that, trust me, there are other women, youth, younger girls that also needs to be included. Their voice needs to be also included in all the conversations that we are having, whatsoever, regardless of the spaces that we're in.
Roshiko, any particular issues or?
She just said all.
Okay,
what was it? Any issues with?
Any particular issues from Marshall Islands that you would be talking or discussing?
Well, tomorrow we're celebrating Women Human Rights Defenders Day, and we're doing it in parallel in the Marshall Islands as well. So we, some of the issues that we want to raise, Katie during her session this morning did all 10 accomplishments that have been shown in the RMI. So I think for my session, I'll bring up some of the issues, which are that there is still a lot of limited spaces where you find, safe environments for girls to speak out about themselves even. So I think to raise that as one of the key issues that RMI can definitely work on, because if you empower them to speak for themselves, then imagine all the issues that we're prioritizing, teenage pregnancy because it's a big issue, but you're leaving out the teenage girls to do their part in the development. So yeah, inclusivity of all levels of discussion and decision making.
That capacity.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to move around to the more thematic questions about the issues that you are representative of and that you're interested in, and whether or not that's being reflected in the public media in Fiji or in RMI, and how is it being discussed. So maybe we'll come to Fiji first.
I'm wearing a lot of hats, so yeah, and it comes with its challenges, and there's so much that I want to do in all these areas as a climate justice activist, as an LGBTQI activist, as a gender activist. But the good thing is that these issues, they interlink, somewhere in between. So for me, two main biggest areas that I'm very much interested in and I'm always, passionate in advocating and highlighting is climate justice work, and as well as the inclusion of marginalized community. I'm very passionate with this area, especially climate justice, because I feel that this is an area that we are very much lacking in the Pacific, and there hasn't also been a lot of conversation around, and also there hasn't been a lot of priorities in terms of advocating climate justice work. We are only looking at climate change. We are not looking at the vulnerable communities that are impacted by the irreversible impacts of climate change. And coming from COP22 platform, there's so much work that needs to be done in the Pacific. Sometimes I just don't know where to begin. And something that really was a big takeaway for me from the COP22 was the mention from the African and other indigenous women on the many danger open fire cooking or firewood cooking is imposing on the body and the well-being of women. And for me, that was a big reflection moment for me, because I really get to think of our families, the Pacific, especially us back here in Fiji. Almost 95% of women here in in Fiji and the Pacific, especially in the rural islands, that are actually, involved in energy sector and are doing this on a daily basis. And just imagine how much impacts it has on their body and well-being. In Africa, they even mentioned that their women are suffering from blindness. They are also having a lot of women that are going through pregnancy complications and many other health implications. And to me, that was a really concerning moment, because I really felt that this is something that we really didn't realize much of the Pacific, and something that I felt that I should seriously come back and try and push a lot of work, not just within the CSO movement, but also try and collaborate with the government agencies in ensuring that we come up with initiatives to implement to communities.
Can I just ask, what
Sure.
role do you think the media can play in helping you raise this awareness on the impact of, on the health impact of climate change?
Yes, of course. Media should play a lot of effective role in this. I think something that I feel that will really amplify our climate justice messages a lot is if there is an increase in media coverage and also in media taking priorities on climate justice situations and issues. And as we all know, media plays a big role, and maybe that is something as well that we can probably try and work with the media community in getting our messages across, and also raising the awareness, which is in a higher need within the grassroots level.
Just jumping on that with climate justice, because it is one of the key priorities for RMI, being an atoll nation on the brink of ground zero for climate change effects. But media definitely plays an important role on it, and an example would be the lead up to COP21, that RMI kind of raised a lot of voices through mainstream media as well as social media, and being the kind of like the small people that were able to go and have that much impact during COP21, and that was all that media totally assisted with that movement. But also there are other issues where you don't find a lot of discussions about it nationally or even locally, and these are almost always social issues. So you can easily talk about the science of climate change and how it impacts the islands, but then when you trickle it down to what does a post-disaster such as a drought, what happens to the young girls and the mothers and the children, how is it going to affect their lives? Are they able to go to school? Do they have enough water when they're menstruating? Things like that. It's just quiet, and this is it all comes down back to what's culturally appropriate to discuss in a public space. And so that's what a lot of our our communications and media people in the islands do, is they're very, very strict on what they consider is culturally appropriate to discuss. But I want to challenge everybody and said that, it's about time that we start discussing these matters out in the open, because when young people see that these things are easily discussed, then they're able to come out and voice their issues as well.
So I'm just going to come back to the 16 days question a little bit later, but talking about young women's inclusion, young women participating, you just touched about it briefly there, Yoshiko. What does that look like for you, Maria, coming back to Fiji? What is needed for young women to be able to feel like they are included and they can participate in decision making?
For women, young women to participate, and also, every woman to be involved in decision making and leadership roles, I think there has, for me personally, I felt like there's a lot of work that's needed in the grassroots and community level. A lot of these women and girls are still not aware of their basic human rights. They're still not conscious yet that they also have a basic, human right, that they also have, they also can make a difference. And with the work that we do with the DIVA, I felt that there's a lot of work that's needed at grassroots level. We need to also educate a lot of women. I think that is also one big push that we need to focus on. When women are educated as well, it also empowers us And I think there's, in terms of increasing the margin of women to be involved in decision making and leadership, I think there's a lot of empowerment programs that's needed, and that's, you know, a collaborative effort and work that's not just for the social movement to do. It requires the collaborative effort and partnership of all relevant stakeholders, the community, organization, the social movement, the government, development agencies. You know, they all need to work together to actually empower women, educate women on the basic human rights, and also all, you know, we need to all be part of development and empowering women to be involved in decision making and leadership roles.
Okay, so the last question is on 16 days. We've talked about a lot of things and a lot of issues, but kind of bringing it right back to what does peace mean for you as a young woman from your community? What would you like to say about that?
Well, peace to me is just waking up in the morning and knowing that nothing is going to hinder what I want to do throughout my day. If I'm able to freely do the activities that I choose to do, without any sort of worry in my mind. So that if any person can wake up in the morning and realize that they're capable of doing anything without, you know, consequences that are going to hurt them, then I feel like that's kind of like they're gonna change the world. Sorry, I'm very optimistic, but I'm really happy that this forum is providing this space for us to. Yeah. No, but peace really is like being able to know that nothing can stop you.
Peace for me is when you are in your home and you know you are safe. When you're in the public space, you know you are safe. When you're in almost any area and you know you are safe. Peace to me is when people recognize your value and they appreciate you for who you are. And also peace to me is that when you are able to challenge power peacefully, and when you're able to speak up without going through any sort of violence, discrimination, exploitation, or abuse.